And from the front pages, we begin with this Nigerian newspaper. And, of course, what do you expect? President Tinubu speaking, giving a self-assessment, so to speak, of his stewardship in the last 2 years. And listen to this: Nigeria in better shape under Tinubu, but more needs to be done. And there are some riders beneath that one. Financial Times, UK's influential newspaper, says Nigeria's economy has dramatically stabilized under the current administration, even as it calls attention to cost of living crisis, food inflation, as well as banditry. Of course, this is not from the administration, as I said earlier. It is from Financial Times UK, and that's the big story on the front page of this Nigeria. Seems the international community is applauding the administration. Of course, don't forget that prior to this time, the World Bank had also given a few assessments on the Nigeria Development Update report. That's it for this Nigeria.
All right, let's go to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian leads with Ohaneze. Others fault Tinubu's scorecard as APC blame past leaders. Ohaneze, others fault Tinubu's scorecard as APC blames past leaders. So that's on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. I'm not sure which of the past leaders the APC is blaming. I'm sure it's also the leadership of Muhammadu Buhari, which a lot of people have assessed to be the financial situation, the fiscal management under the administration was really nothing to write home about in that sense because of where things landed for the current administration. And the current administration, we can also tell you what else also they've done in terms of what we say is the social impact of the twin policy. Someone says you should have phased it. Someone says you should have thought through the social impact or social assessment, what do you call that, in social initiative program should have been thought through and properly put together, because for the records, the buffers that have been put in place is not sufficient to cushion the effect of some of the things Nigerians are going through. Just that Nigerians are very resilient people. They just find a way to survive. I don't think it's because the government is doing anything fantastic as to the impact of it. Although some macroeconomic numbers look good, like the excess crude account, the, what do you call it now, the debt service to revenue has improved in that sense. So there's a bit of liquidity in that sense to be able to do. But in the midst of all of that, we're still borrowing and digging deep. So it's just a convolution of conversation here and there. That's why we're saying that sometimes when we want to take recommendations of Bretton Woods institution, we should look at our own uniqueness, because Nigeria seems to defy all the numbers. I follow the numbers, and I know that the EU, for instance, and the US, when they target inflation numbers, they get to it, and you can see it. Even though things are tough, but basics, the infrastructure, the power, the roads, those are what we call legacies. When they are sorted, whatever infrastructure you put, or whatever measure you put in place, can be felt. We are dealing with corruption. We're dealing with a terrible rule of law situation. When these things are not sorted, I guarantee the government and any other government, the basics are not sorted. Rule of law, corruption, legacy issues, there is nothing you can do about reform that will work. I guarantee you that.
A tough job to be done. Talking about the Financial Times piece, I think it was the editorial board that wrote a piece about Nigeria's economy, and then part of it was put on the front page. But hey, that's what it is. But let's turn our attention to Nigeria News Direct. The News Direct leads with an executive order which was signed by President Bola Tinubu. And you see on the front page of Nigeria News Direct, FG issues new executive order to attract new investments and lower costs in upstream sector. I know a lot of people, Jeffrey, had thought that the president would assent to the tax bills because, you know, they had adopted the harmonized version the day before and said it's been, I mean, that was done for onward presentation to the president. So a lot of people thought that that was going to be something to mark the second administration of President Bola Tinubu, because those tax bills have been a long time coming, and it's been said that, I mean, if those bills are to come through, then it might maybe ease business, reduce the tax burden on small businesses. Well, that is a projection. Okay, that's usually the projection, but when the chips are down, it's another case entirely. But what did we get? this landmark executive order, as it has been described, called Upstream Petroleum Operations Cost Efficiency Incentives Order 2025. It's a mouthful, but that's something that came up yesterday.
Kayode, I feel that besides all this grammar, the first thing the government should do is a hydrocarbon framework. Experts are saying that we really, in all honesty, do not know how much oil comes out to the surface. They call it technical losses. Technical losses is a sexy way, permit my word, to say they are stealing the oil in a very, very funny way, in my view. So if we don't know how much of the oil, because if you go to the Saudi Aramcos of this world, both the government, I mean, this time Ministry of Petroleum, Ministry of Finance, and the operators, the NNPCL, everybody has a dashboard that they see what comes from the waters, whether it's onshore, deep offshore. They see what comes out. So you cannot come and tell me what you got. There's no guesswork. But here we do guesswork. Annualizing, 2003, I mentioned, 2023, we did 1.2, 1.3 last year. We're averaging 1.4. We're still far away. I hear the new man, NNPCL, is projecting 1.8. I will advise him, keep it around 1.6. Don't talk like a politician, because there's nothing right now that shows that is achievable. I'll be glad if it happens, because they've been saying this for like 2 years. It's not happening. So lower your ambition, keep it temperate. It's part of our budgeting process as well. We also saw that we were a bit too ambitious as well. So all of this political talk, we should temper it so that we don't make people, don't work people up to have too much expectation. For me, if we do 1.6 at the end of the year, crude oil, not condensate. Crude oil, because that's what OPEC counts. Condensate is also good, but crude oil, if we do 1.6, 1.65, it's fine.
So don't overpromise and underdeliver.
Don't overpromise and underdeliver. It's too much. That's why we're borrowing, because we over budget and we need to go and borrow now.
There you go. So that's a look at the front pages, a lot to chew on. But we'll take a quick break now. When we return, Mr. Omoyele Sowore is our very first guest on the program as we review.